What's up? It's Marco back on This Week in Soccer, the weekly show where we cover all things U.S. men's national team. Hey, if you're a new viewer, thank you for sticking around. I saw that breakout players video kind of blew up. So if you're new and stick around, we do this every week. Cover things like transfers, injuries, and how players are playing, what positions they're playing, their playing time. So yeah, just jumping right into it, we got transfer news. Starting things off, we're going with Matthew Hoppe, and he's been linked with a move to the Premier League for a while now. Teams like Arsenal, Southampton, that doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but two teams have really kind of taking the lead in what looks like Matthew Hoppe will be going. Everton and Newcastle. According to Akrem Kunar, Everton have put a bid in, or at least inquired about Matthew Hoppe to Schalke. This bid is at $2 million, which is well below Schalke's valuation, but it does show interest, and Werder Bremen was able to budge on Josh Sargent's price, so you'd expect Schalke to do the same thing, especially in their financial situation. Also, Newcastle are interested, according to Football Insider. I do think that Matthew Hoppe should leave Schalke, but these teams are kind of interesting and not too sure about it. Both have kind of unfamiliar or uncertain coaches. Steve Bruce, I feel like he's done a half-decent job at Newcastle, but all their fans want him out. New coach in Rafael Benitez, though very good coach at Everton, but obviously their fans aren't too much of a fan of him. But also at both clubs, he's behind two pretty solid players. At Everton, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison on the left, and at Newcastle, Callum Wilson and St. Maximin on the left. So maybe he'd go there and get a loan to like a championship club or maybe a Bundesliga team. I do think he does need to leave Schalke, as I mentioned, because I feel like he's too good for that Bundesliga 2 level. But both these teams, I'm not too sure about them, so something to keep an eye on. Next, we have Chris Richards. Last week I reported that Leicester were interested in him, but they signed Vestergaard, so that seems completely dead. So Hoffenheim is the only team that is really looking to get him at the moment. But Variant Football Works, a Bayern website, they report that Hoffenheim won a loan, but it seems like Bayern Munich only want to let him go if they want to sell him. I'm not too sure if that would include a buyback clause or not. He was on the bench this week for Bayern Munich, which is notable, but it is kind of disheartening that Bayern would be willing to sell him because he seems like a very talented prospect for them. But if this is the case, then I know they just signed a big center back whose name I can't pronounce. He's a young player as well. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing to see this, and it's an interesting decision for Chris Richards because he could go to Hoffenheim, get a lot of game time, and really develop as a player. But at the same time, he's at Bayern Munich right now, and it's really hard to get back to that level. I mean, ask Julian Green. But at the same time, Julian Green, his career's turned out pretty well. I mean, could have gone better, but he's a starter in the Bundesliga now. And Chris Richards, I mean, right now he's likely to get game time in like the DFB Pokal and probably some rotational games once the Champions League gets going because he's pretty versatile. You might want to play him over Sarr and Omar Richards, I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a tough decision for him, and I don't envy that position, but he's going to have to make that call if he wants to stay at Bayern or try to make Hoffenheim work. Next, Matt Miazga. We finally got a loan move to talk about. It's been all summer where you didn't hear anything on Matt Miazga in terms of teams linked with him, but we finally got one. La Liga side Alaves, they want to loan him in, which, yeah, it is a loan move, which is disappointing. Chelsea loan army, I guess. But I did say that's Fabrizio Romano, I think, but saying that again in case it didn't. And it means good for playing time, and you obviously like to see Matt Miazga there, going to La Liga, going up against some really good players. That could be big. Good for me from a selfish perspective because I actually get to watch him on ESPN+. But yeah, good for playing time, but dude, you just got to get out of Chelsea at this point. Next, Daryl Dike. His move to West Brom, that's becoming a bit more substantiated. It might be legit now. I was looking into it. The West Brom manager is the same guy who managed him when he was at Barnsley and brought him in. So that's something. West Brom seemed to be in the need of a striker. They are linked with a good amount of people at the moment, like Liam Delap was another one. So could go either way. It was reported by Football League Now, who's another group reporting on it. It was just a local newspaper last week, so it seems to be growing a bit. And we do expect Daryl Dike to leave Orlando at least this winter, maybe this summer. So yeah, very interesting to see. He hasn't been playing for Orlando at the moment, but I feel like that's more due to injury because he looked bad at the Gold Cup. So yeah, something to keep in mind. Next, we got Owen Adewasai. Hammer's News reports that West Ham are interested in Adewasai, and this was very strange to me because West Ham that would basically be a step sideways for Adosai. I mean, maybe a step up, but yeah, they're a similar tier team as Wolves in like my opinion. I feel like at least recent times, like the general public kind of feels like that. But this would only make sense if there's something going on at Wolves, and it could easily be like that. I mean, it's a club that's run by an agent who just brought in a new manager, and they really haven't made many signings, so like there could definitely be something going on at Wolves, and if that's the case, then moving to a similar level team, that would make sense for him. But at the same time, I feel like if playing time's the goal, he should go to Bruges, because if he goes to West Ham, he'd probably just be loaned out to the Championship, which would be a good thing, but I feel like playing at like a permanent team would probably be better for him at this point in his career. Next, Reggie Cannon. He wasn't in the squad this weekend for Boavista, so a move really seems likely. I don't feel like he'll be going back to Boavista. According to the Telegraph, Nottingham Forest, Ethan Horvath's team is interested, so maybe something happens there. Last piece of transfer news, Ricardo Pepe is still drawing interest from Serie A and Bologna, and according to La Gazzetta. And I mean, that's a very good move for him. I mean, Serie A, that's a great place to develop players, especially strikers. You get a lot of really like complete strikers coming through there. Lukaku developed so much in his time there. So, yeah, it could be a very good, successful move to Europe. I think he's ready. The only concern is, from our perspective, is he's a dual national at the moment. And, yeah, we haven't had been too much luck with dual nationals with Mexico lately, though. We have been doing pretty well. Greg Berhalter has been pretty good at recruiting European dual nationals. He's American, but he's from El Paso, and that is, like, right on the border. So, yeah, I could definitely see that. I just watched that podcast that Hercules Gomez appeared on with Scuffed. It's very interesting, where it's like, man, Mexico really go hard with recruiting those dual nationals. It's like, well, what can we do? I mean, can we afford to call them up? I mean, for the World Cup qualifiers, it's like, maybe. I mean, you'd probably bring up like a Sibachu, Sargent, DK, Zardes. I mean, maybe you could afford to push two of them out and bring him up. It's probably not morally right to do that, but Mexico will probably attempt to do it. So, yeah, tough decision for the Federation, tough decision for him. Okay, that's it. Now on to injury news. Justin Shea, he picked up an injury like a while ago, I think, and he has been playing on it. I swear this is the first time I've seen it reported that he was hurt, though. It might have been out earlier, especially if you're a Dallas fan, you probably saw it. But this is just why he hasn't been playing, I guess. Sebastian Lenglet, his sister passed away, so he hasn't been playing, so send well wishes to him. Tyler Boyd picked up an injury for Besiktas. He'll be missing a few weeks. It'll make it even harder to get back into the team. But despite this, SB Nation still projects him to be a steal in fantasy football. Wrong Tyler Boyd. My bad. And lastly, a piece of good injury news. Jordan Morris is recovering, and according to sounderatheart.com, he may play in the MLS this season. He's a good, proven CONCACAF player, and going into World Cup qualifying, that's the type of depth that you want. There's a guy who you know can just get you goals and get results against El Salvador and Jamaica. I mean, it's not too high of a bar, but it's a bar we need to clear. Okay, next on to just guys who are playing this week. Joe Scaly made a very strong debut in the Bundesliga. He was playing out of position at left back. He's right back by trade. And he was not looking out of place at all against Bayern Munich. He was doing a very good job against Gnabry and Sané. And, man, if he continues to play like this, especially with his versatility, he will be in the national team. Because this was a great performance. He's only 18. Like, I was doing that freshman video a while back, and I was like, Joe Scaly was like 4 years younger than I thought he was. And, man, like, that he's really promising. Somebody to look out for. Man, our right back depth just keeps growing. Another great performance, Conrad De La Fuente. He had another great performance for Marseille, created a goal, had another very good game, and he's going to be in the national team for World Cup qualifiers. He's playing too well to not be in that team. Christian Pulisic started against Crystal Palace, and man, as an American Crystal Palace fan, it is interesting watching him play because he has scored 5 goals in 5 games against Crystal Palace, including subs appearances, I think. And Palace are a solid defensive team. I mean, it's not like great or anything, but Joel Ward, great defender. Mark Gui, Kouyaté, very strong team, and Pulisic just rips them to shreds. And hopefully he'll continue this form and continue his playing time as Lukaku arrives. I know he's in because of the injury to Ziyech, but man, he's playing well, and if he keeps this up, Tuchel's going to have to play him. But I feel like we kind of have to respect Tuchel's decision. He's a Champions League winning manager at this point. Next, Giovanni Reina. He scored, or he's still playing centrally for Dortmund, and yeah, he scored against in their opener for the Bundesliga. And he's had a really great game, and I'm really expecting him to take his game to the next level this season. Now that Sancho's gone, Haaland's still there, but he's the main guy in the midfield, especially with Marco Reus kind of being in and out of the lineup at this point in his career. But, man, Gio Reyna, he's been looking really good. As I mentioned before, playing centrally, so that midfield option, that's something available for the national team. Maybe you could have Konrad on the wing, and he's starting right now against Bayern in the Super Cup if you want to turn that on, depending on how early you watch this video. Don't turn this video off, though. Okay. Next, Jordan Siebatcheu. He scored a brace and helped his team advance to the Champions League qualifying, and he's another guy who has to be in USMNT national team consideration. I mean, DK didn't have the greatest performance. Sargent hasn't been playing that great. Zardes scored a goal, but aside from that, he really didn't do much in the semifinal or final either. Jordan Siebatcheu, he played great when he came on for the U.S. men's national team, had a great Nations League, and now he's continuing that form. He's someone you definitely got to consider. And transitioning well, Josh Sargent. He made his debut in a loss for Norwich against Liverpool. He seems to impress Daniel Farke. He seems like he'll be playing either striker or wing for them. But hey, I mean, despite the loss, we got another guy in the Premier League, and that's just great to see. Josh Sargent's going to develop so much this year. Norwich despite them being kind of like a lower team in the Premier League, they attack a lot. So, even if they're losing a lot of games, I'm expecting Josh Sargent to be able to do a lot for them. Okay, next we have Ethan Horvath. He had a very good game in the League Cup for Nottingham Forest, and their starting goalkeeper, Samba, hasn't been that great. So, we're going to see if Horvath can start getting some playing time for Nottingham Forest. Sergiño Dest, he was a starter for Barcelona in the season opening win. Good to see him continuing that form. And John Brooks kept a clean sheet for Wolfsburg, and I want to talk about John Brooks more. I feel like I don't mention him enough, but it's just he's such a solid player. Nothing really stands out. He kept another clean sheet. Moving on. He's a great player, and you can't really just talk about that type of consistency a lot. I don't know. It's like an offensive lineman. If you don't talk about him, that's a good thing. So I just want to say that with John Brooks, because I'm not going to be mentioning him as much as I should this year. Julian Green, he started for Greuther Fürth as they got destroyed in their return to the Bundesliga. But that is another Bundesliga starter, another American who's a Bundesliga starter. So, hey, that's definitely a good thing. Result didn't go their way. Greuther Fürth was off to a slow start, but hey, good for Julian Green. Next, Luca de la Torre started for Heracles as they lost to PSV. Disappointing, but PSV, good side. And Luca de la Torre is starting, so want to mention that. Next, Tim Weah. He started in a pretty poor performance for Lille. They've been getting off to a slow start, maybe a bit of a championship hangover, and he's got to step up his performances, because at this point, he's probably going to get dropped by the national team. I mean, he has been playing the greatest in the national team shirt, and I mean, at wing, we got Pulisic, we got Reina, Aronson plays there from the national team, Hoppe can play there, Konrad's outperforming him at the same position in the same league, and Jordan Morris is returning. With all those options, man, you really got to wonder how long they can keep trying to make Tim Weah work, but he's got to get something figured out, and he's got to get better a lot sooner rather than later, because that wing position is very strong for the national team. Next, Tyler Adams and Jesse Mark, they lost their Bundesliga debut. Pretty performance all around. Might have to start talking about them in pairs, because two Americans there. I want to mention Jesse Mark. Next week he's going up against VfB Stuttgart, and they've got the American manager there. I want to say Mauricio Pellegrino, but I know I'm getting that name wrong. But the Stuttgart American manager, Jesse Mark, at RB Leipzig, they're going to be playing each other. I think it's the first time in a top 5 league you got American managers going up against another American manager, so really cool to see. Next, Zack Steffen, he's already not playing again and won't appear again until World Cup qualifiers. I mean, disappointing. I just hope we get one more game ever since vacation seemed pretty long, and they lost. Maybe he should have played. Yeah, I don't think would have made a difference, but Zack Steffen back to the bench. Good opportunity for Matt Turner, good opportunity for Ethan Horvath. Weston McKenzie, he doesn't appear like he'll be in the starting 11 for Juventus this year. I still expect him to see a lot of time. I mean, especially with Coppa Italia, Champions League, all their random cup games that they got. They have the Super Cup in January, I think, in Italy. So, I'm expecting Weston McKenzie to play a lot, but it doesn't appear like he's in the new manager's first 11. Next, DeAndre Yedlin dropped for Galatasaray's wins this week, and I feel like he needs playing time at the moment, or he will lose his spot on the national team. I mean, Sergiño Dest is starting for Barcelona. Joe Scaley's been putting in some good performances. Bryan Reynolds, he's moving up the depth chart at Roma. Reggie Cannon's been playing great. Shaq Moore, Andy Robinson, Tim Ream. He's an option at fullback still, and especially if our center back situation remains uncertain, and he seems to be Greg Berhalter's favorite. That's something to mention. And then Mark McKenzie, he was another guy who got dropped for Champions League and league matches. Though I don't think it's as bad because he was playing at the beginning of the season and then he got dropped. But from everything I've seen, it wasn't on him. He had good, solid performances by everything I've seen. But their starters are returning to fitness, and he was third choice last year, so he's just getting back into the status quo, I guess. But if anything, those performances at the beginning of the year will help him out, if anything, you know? And they just had a Champions League game. You could expect him to play a bit more this season, so yeah, I'm not too concerned about Mark McKenzie right now. And lastly, on some positive news, because we started off really positive and then got negative as we went along, to the MLS, Miles Robinson and George Bello helped Atlanta get a clean sheet. Unless you're an LAFC fan, then it's not very positive at all. But yeah, that's all I talked about this week. Got some interesting things going on. We got a Super Cup going on right now. Brendan Aronson, he's on the bench for this one, but RB Salzburg, they're in the Champions League. Fulham's got a game going. And yeah, that's all there is to talk about. You know, fun week. I'm really hoping these transfers will really start getting wrapped up soon. And yeah, that's all I talk about. See ya.